Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Twem, and today I'm going to talk about academia. I will talk about the basics related to that. For those who are somehow involved with academia, you guys most probably know about most of the things that I'm going to talk about, but it's going to be beneficial for those who want to know, for example, whether they want to go to a university or not. Does it worth it for them or their children? Then they can decide maybe, and it can be useful by watching this show. I will also answer the questions related to the questions I've been gathering since 2 days ago, and I have chosen some interesting and common questions, so I will definitely go through them. The comments are open. I say hi to everyone. You guys, whenever you have questions related to this topic or other topics related to, for example, our previous live shows, you are more than welcome to give comments during the live show today. Before I go through the topic of the day, let me explain that in the first 2 weeks of March, we will have at least 4 live shows with 4 different guests, 2 from the US, 1 from Mexico, and 1 from Russia. And I have already revealed 2 of the guests, and the other 2 I will announce in a separate ad very soon, as soon as we fix the date for them. Okay, so let's back to the topic. The questions I got, for example, one of them was related to academic ranks, because it can be confusing for people. And also, whenever you are studying in the university, when you are at each stage, do you have a job opportunity in the university or not? I'm not talking about outside the university. Like, for example, if you are in a Bachelor of Science level or equivalent ones, do you have any job opportunity in the university? Then the answer is yes, but of course, the salary is not that much. Like, for example, we call a student assistant, for example. I'm going to name the titles as they are, mostly in the US. And as you know, in different countries, they may use different names for them. Even when you compare the UK with the US with the names, you can see even they use English, both of them, as the first language, but the titles can be different. So I'm going to use the closest one with the US in this live show, but of course, as I mentioned, there are equivalents. Okay, so student assistant is an option for those who are studying in any programs related to Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts. Then they can help university, of course, but as I mentioned, the salary is not that much. Even they may ask you very simple things like, for example, move this object from one room to another. It happens. But what's the advantage of joining a university for this test? Because if you are interested to know what's going on behind the curtain, or maybe, for example, from the beginning you are interested to be a teacher in the university, then it's not a bad idea to join them, because during your Bachelor of Science programs, you guys have plenty of time. You may say we have lots of courses, we are busy with them, but come on, you definitely have time. So for those who want to somehow be involved later in the university, it's not a bad idea, just a trial. But for those who are completely sure, for example, I'm studying, for example, business because I want to go to the company, then if that's the case, then you don't need to maybe be a student assistant during your Bachelor of Science program. Okay, what about those students who are studying any programs as a Master of Science or something equivalent? Yes, definitely for them, there are job opportunities in the university, like research or teaching assistants. And this is very useful, especially for those who want to get PhD in the future. If there's a possibility about that, this is a very good test for you because you understand during your work as a research or teaching assistant whether this is really for you or not. So for those who want to test it, I really suggest that they try it, and if they understand that they really love it, then they start their PhD program with such a passion. And because as you know, PhD is like a marathon, so you should be ready for that. If you are not ready, you won't make it to the end of the line. So I definitely suggest those guys to try for research assistant or teaching assistant positions. And also in some universities, after you graduate with a master degree, then you can even be a lecturer there in the university and even instructor. Sometimes this is part-time because they want to try whether you are good enough for their university. Then they make you full-time maybe later if they trust you. But anyway, this is good only for those who want to, again, continue as a PhD. Because what's the point if you are, for example, teaching in the university, you have master, and they may ask you, okay, why not you're not getting your PhD? Well, because if you get it, then you will have more salary in the university. But for those who are working in a company with their master degree and they want to teach in the university, this is a possibility to be a lecturer. And I definitely suggest it because I even know some of my friends that they are doing it. This is good because they have passion for teaching, but they want to earn more money. That's why they work in a company, and they are also part-time maybe lecturers somewhere in the university or an institute. So it is possible. But if you are sure you want to work in the university, then why not try it for a PhD? And okay, what about PhD graduates? When you are a PhD graduate, you have options to, for example, be a lecturer again, an instructor, because comparing to those who got their master degree, then you have more salary and you will be accepted in better universities for as an instructor. Because this is true, for better universities, they prefer to hire graduates from PhD, not master. They are thinking about their rankings in the world. So definitely you can get better jobs in better universities with a PhD, not with a master degree as a teaching position like lecturer or instructor. And what is the next option? For example, you can be an assistant professor. This is a faculty member position, which is very good. If you want to be a professor at the end, then this is where to start. And if, for example, you cannot get it right away, because as I mentioned, universities have different evaluations, and maybe they say, okay, you're not ready for our assistant professor position, so start with an instructor or lecturer. Then we trust you and we will see where it goes. So yeah, this is also a good option if you want to be a professor at the end. And generally, what I wanted to tell you is that you should check whether you are interested in one of these two or both of them, teaching and doing research. So if you are not interested in any of them, why you want to get a PhD? Because what's the point there? If you get a PhD, then you can teach in the university. And if you want to do research, not interested in teaching, then the path you should go maybe is a postdoc program. And postdoc program can be totally different from what you have participated before, because the diploma doesn't matter anymore, because the number of years which you are experienced doing postdoc would be evaluated when they want to hire you in another university. So they say, for example, you had postdoc experience for 3 years, maybe in 3 different universities, 1 year for each university, then this is a plus thing. So this is the way that those guys who are interested in continuing in carrying out research, they can pursue postdoc. And if they are interested to be a professor, again, this is the way, because directly by doing research, they can be a professor as well. And in some universities, we have a title named Research Associate. So these kind of positions would be suggested for those who are interested in doing research in university. And the thing, by the way, which is confusing for some people, and I hear it a lot during especially my IG shows. I talk with other people who are not necessarily in academia, and there's a misunderstanding because they know these things from TV shows, and TV shows can be biased about this, so we should be careful about that. Like, which one is better, they say, MD or PhD. It's very important. What do you mean by better? So is it related to earning money? Is it related to academia? So this is the thing that we should consider. So in terms of academia, you should know that PhD, of course, is better. Why I say that? Because when you get your MD, you get, for example, a doctorate in pharmacy, then you would need 4 more years to study in order to get a PhD. And then you can teach in the university, because when you graduate from, for example, doctorate in pharmacy, in medicine, then you are not eligible to teach in the university. So this is in terms of academic. But in terms of, for example, what society thinks, for example, what is your salary, then maybe, yes, maybe MD could be better. And sometimes I remember before I used to tell my parents, why you didn't let me to pursue that path, because those doctors are earning lots of money. I wanted to be a surgeon. But now these days, I'm glad I didn't do it, especially because of COVID. It was very scary. And for those guys who are doctors and who are involved in hospitals, I have very high respect for them. Nurses, they did great, and really, I appreciate what they did for us. But anyway, I'm glad I'm not one of them, because I'm not brave enough to be in hospitals in such situations. So it was better for me to get PhD instead of going through those majors. Nusha, hi, welcome. And by the way, in the movies, now that we talked about it, in movies they say, for example, you have a PhD, okay, so you are not a real doctor. This is famous, especially in the American comedies. Like even in Friends, you remember Ross, whenever he talked about his PhD and the way the girls were behaving to him. But the fact was that Ross even had a better diploma comparing to those 2 doctors that Monica and Rachel were trying to date. So yeah, as I said, it depends whether, when I say better, it depends academically or money-wise. You are thinking about these things. Thank you, Nusha, for your compliment. And some of you asked me, does it worth it? It was the most common questions I received since 2 days ago that I announced it as a story. It depends on your goal, whether it's worth it to go to a university or not. So if your goal is to earn money, this is the only thing brings you happiness, this is the only thing which is matter to you, then in this case, university is not a good path, I think. But if you think about money, at the same time you are thinking about your passion. Like when you ask me, for example, which major to study, I say, let's see what are your abilities and what do you love the most. It doesn't matter whether the job offers will be there for you or not. You will find a way. In the worst scenario, you will be teacher, right? Again, in the sitcom, in the comedy, they say, if you don't have a job, at least you can be a teacher after that. So this is true. So if you love your major, then why not teaching it at the end? And but if you think about money, of course, maybe this is not a path for you. Because as you know, for example, companies can give 3 times, 4 times higher salary comparing to what they give us as teachers. So if we want to only think about money, then of course we should join companies, not keep teaching in the universities. But money is not as important for us as our passion, let's say. But anyway, this is important. Like, we don't work for free, you know? So this is also true. Now, also, since you asked me about does it worth it to go to university and when to get out of the university, for example, which diploma we received, and this is a time for just going to a company, join a company, or stay in the university. So what I would say, if you are a Bachelor of Science or Master of Science student, and if you don't want to get PhD, so of course you should think about a company to join. And but before that, what about before that? Like, you didn't even start Bachelor of Science. If you think about earning money and you don't care which major, as much as it's close to you, you know, for example, you like computers, then IT is somehow related to computers. So there are companies and there are even some programs which are not in the university. And after 4 years, you can pass those programs, some of them even 1 year or 2 years. It depends on the program. Then you will be an IT expert. Then you can directly go to work in the company. So what I suggest you guys is that when you want to decide whether you want to join the university in a program as a Bachelor of Science, for example, think about whether is there a company that you are interested to work in and which title. If the company directly accepts you as an intern, do that. Don't join the university because this is not the correct way. If the company accepts you and they understand that you have the talent, and they give you, of course, low-level position at the beginning, but when they trust you, then they may tell you, for example, go and get this program, and we will even help you money-wise for getting this certificate from the university or an institute. So that's the time that you will go to the university, okay? This is very important. Like in Germany, we have a program, Ausbildung, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So this is very interesting way, because for those who are interested in IT, why you come to, for example, university? That's why this is the way. But for those guys who are interested in IT and they want to teach IT in the future, or they want to work in a very big companies, so maybe university could be an option. But first think about it. First, for example, check the company that you want to work in, and the company says, I will hire people who have already Master of Science degree. So you have no other choice. You should go to the university for that. You see? So that's why it's very important to think about it much ahead. These things, unfortunately, for example, me personally, I didn't think about it that much. But I knew that I want to teach in the university. At the end, I want to be a university professor. So I didn't even think about other things. But that was not right. I could even think about those things, but nobody told me about such things. And it will waste your money, it will waste your time if you don't know what you want to do in your future. And you may tell me, okay, as an 18 years old, maybe we don't know that much what we want in the future. We want to try and see what will happen, but this is not suggested. Maybe you will even take some months to think what you really want in your life, then decide what to do. And when you will be in the university, then you know why you are here. Then we don't need to force you guys to study things because you will do it passionately, you know? So that's very important from the beginning, and just a little advice so that you would consider it. And people ask me what would be the advantage and disadvantages of working in a university. Well, first of all, working as a teacher or researcher in university, you will have flexible time. It means that you are boss of yourself. So, but of course we have, for example, positions like we should report to whoever is in higher rank in the university. This is true, but it doesn't feel that much like working in a company. Like you have a boss, then you should report everything to him, like you're afraid of him. No, this is not the way in the university, and you feel relaxed when you're doing your job because you evaluate yourself. You are even more strict than a possible boss with yourself. So this is good. But the disadvantages, like in a company, when you work from 8 to 5, after 5 o'clock, you're free. You can go and do whatever you want. During the weekends, especially those who are my friends, I talk about, for example, what about your job? For example, what are you going to do this week? They all the time say we are waiting so much for Friday night, because from Friday night to Monday morning, mostly they won't do anything as a job. But for teachers, this is not the case. For researchers, this is not the case. Me personally, I work the most during the weekends when it comes to doing research. So this is, we could say, maybe disadvantage for those who want to pursue working in the universities. And for example, for those who want to have family very fast, and it's very hard to have a wife, to have children, and they just don't nag you about working in the weekend. They want you to just spend time with them and go out camping, something like that. So yeah, these are the things to take into account. Of course, there are many professors, many doctors who have wife, who have children, but it takes time for them to handle things, at least they couldn't get married very fast, I would say. It takes time so that they reach a balance, they reach a stable position. And of course, like any other job these days, the economy of the world these days is crazy. It could be not stable for many years. It depends on your luck. And of course, it depends on the country that you live in. So you may say, okay, is it stable or not? Not necessarily, but for other jobs, we cannot say this anyway. So there's not a clear answer for that to say, okay, university is better or working in a company. And you asked me which major to study. It depends on you, of course. As I say, it depends on your abilities. It depends that the universities that you are looking for, is it possible to apply for them or not? Are you going to get admission for them or not? And also the things that I see a lot, that some people, when they want to choose the major, they say, what is the hot field now? Hot field in which sense? Like which field, for example, will lead us to a job which has the highest salary? Okay, this is one goal, for example, for some people. Or for example, which field will lead us to more job opportunities? Okay, so these are actually logical questions to ask, but this is very tricky. Like, let me give you an example. These days, they say neuroscience is very hot, and I agree, and it's very interesting. The thing is that when you start studying neuroscience and until you will get your PhD for so many years, will it be still hot 10 years later from now? We will have so many graduates in neuroscience 10 years later. So would it be lots of job opportunities for you that year? There's no guarantee. Maybe it will be, maybe not. So these are tricky. What I suggest you guys is that to go for your passion. If you love a major, you don't need to think about the job opportunities, because at the end of the day, you can be a teacher in that course. Let's say it is geography. Just studying geography. If you love it, if you love geology, then geology, if you like, then at the end you can be PhD in that major and teach in the university. Why not? But for those who think about money so much and they are ambitious in terms of earning money, then for them, I don't suggest going through this path anyway, and they cannot maybe reach it through university. It's better to check with the company that they want to work, or maybe if they want to earn a skill, then in that scenario, there are some programs they can do. If there is not, then join the university. So it's very tricky, guys. It's not that easy as it sounds, and unfortunately, many of us just try it and we lose time, we lose money, then we understand, okay, it was not our path. So we should think about these things carefully and ask questions from those who are expert in this, or different people. Like one person got his PhD, the other person went to the company, ask them about the path they took, just to get idea, because not necessarily the path is the best for you as well. Okay, so it's very important to check with them just to get ideas. And some of them asked about my own experiences in Russia. First of all, I would say that I loved living in Russia, in Moscow specifically. I lived there in Moscow for, yes, it's been a year, and I had connection with so many interesting people in the university. There were very good scientists in Russia. Unfortunately, some of them left Russia, and that's also the reason I left Russia, because of the low salary. Unfortunately, they don't give that much good salary to teachers, so many of the talents would eventually want to leave Russia because of this reason. And of course, those who are in Russia, we don't suggest them to go to university unless they are passionate about it. And fortunately, I met so many people who were passionate about it. They didn't care about money, and they will be for sure very successful in their fields. And fortunately, Russia has so many talents, and there won't be any problem for them at the end of the day. And as you know, I'm in Cyprus now. We have also so many talents in Turkey and Cyprus and Greek. So in the university I'm working, most of them come from Turkey. And in METU is the best university in Turkey. And I'm not just saying it, it's based on the ranks. And those who came here, they're already proud to be here because it's a good opportunity for them. Unfortunately, I had this chance to meet so many talented students also in METU. And you asked me, for example, about the goals in academia. Since I talked about METU, let me also talk about this part so that it will make sense that what I'm doing here. So what are the goals for those guys who are in academia? What's the maximum they are thinking about? What are their dreams? And you may think that Nobel Prize is the dream of all the people who are working in universities, but this is not the case. People are in universities for different reasons. As I said, some of them are just looking at it as the classical version of universities, just to earn skills and go find a job. Some of the people who are receiving PhD, not all of them are interested in receiving Nobel Prize. It depends. Some of them are just interested in teaching in the university. Some of them are interested in doing research. And I want to talk about Big Bang Theory because some of you also mentioned that. I will talk about it and let you know how it's related. But in my case, if you ask me, what's your goal? My goal is actually to pursue both teaching and research. So I want to always do both of them. I don't care about money that much. You may say, okay, if you don't, why you left Russia? Because the reason was that I couldn't leave. Moscow is very expensive city. If you don't earn enough money, you won't survive. You won't have enough money to, live the way you want. Not very luxury, but I mean, just to survive, That's why I had to leave Moscow. And here in Cyprus, I can pursue both teaching and research interest of mine. For I'm interested in both of them. So whenever I receive a teaching position, I still keep the research going, and whenever there's a research opportunity for me as a job, then I try to teach as a lecturer beside it. At the moment, I'm an instructor, so I do research independently or sometimes with the colleagues in the university. And I'm already happy about it. So when you say, okay, you're not looking for a Nobel Prize, of course I would be happy if it happens, but this is not my goal. And eventually, for us, whenever when we are receiving lots of experiences in teaching and research, automatically we will reach that professor position. So when you want to reach it through teaching, for example, instructor, assistant professor, associate professor, and then professor. And it happens through time. So while you are doing your research, while you are earning your teaching experience, then it will happen eventually. But whether you ask me, this is your goal? No, this is not my goal, but as I go, it will happen eventually anyways. And you asked me about whether I like Big Bang Theory. Of course I do. I'm very happy that they are making sitcom like this, that they mention about academia. But whether this is 100% true or not, of course not. This is a comedy. We shouldn't forget that it's a comedy. And that's why they think about entertaining people more than showing all the real things in academia. We should take it into account. But both Big Bang Theories and right after it, Young Sheldon, which they are showing this on CBS. Both of them were very interesting for me, and I really appreciate that they are making sitcoms which are based on life in academia. So you may ask me, what are the good things about it? What are the bad things? Good things I mentioned. As long as they mention about the life in academia, this is good anyway, because some people maybe get interested in science by just watching Big Bang Theory. You see, they think this is a cool environment. This is cool to teach in a university. But of course, how close it is to reality, this is what I want to tell you. Like, for example, this group of people that they show in the Big Bang Theory, these guys are nerds, right? They are one-dimensional. They are very good in their majors, but you can see that they are not good in their social life. And this is actually not true that all scientists are like that. Even the colleagues that they show in the university, most of them, they seem the same, right? But in university, we have different types of people. From the PhD graduates, we can see different people. We have PhD graduates who are very good in their social life. But there are some who are interested, for example, with video games. Some in all of the things, you know? It depends. And this is not true to say, okay, these guys are all the same and there are some stereotypes about them. The picture I showed you as an advertisement for this live show, you could see some stereotypes about academia even in that picture. So, by the way, you can of course give comments. The comments are open. Oh, thank you very much, Nusha, for your compliment. You're very kind. Ti очень добрая. And about Young Sheldon, by the way, I didn't expect that I would like this show, because I wouldn't expect to like a show with main characters to be kids or teenager. But fortunately, the producers and writers were very strong, and they did very good job. I even like it more than Big Bang Theory. I didn't expect that, but the actors are great. So it's going well. And those scientists who are giving consultant to Big Bang Theory and young Sheldon. Of course, for Big Bang Theory, it's already over, but those who used to do that, they were very good, because even when you look at the board that they are talking about, there are relations, really. It's not like it's jibber jabber, they just show some formula, but sometimes they had very good relations with what they are talking about. Of course, most of the actors, they don't know what they are. They're just memorizing things, or they're just learning it from those scientists during the scene. But yeah, it was very good. I really appreciate that. Okay, guys, I think I covered all the questions you have asked me. And by the way, since we mentioned about Big Bang Theory, you see that those PhD graduates all the time mocking Howard, who is doing very good. He just he got graduated from MIT, for example, and he's doing a good job in NASA, which is great. But they are mocking him because he doesn't have a PhD. And unfortunately, this is true. Like in academia, they don't take people who don't have PhD seriously. This is a kind of prerequisite. If you want them to pay attention to you, first you should get your PhD. Then by publishing papers in journals and attending conferences, then also working with your colleagues, then you can get their attention. But if you don't have a PhD, then they ask, okay, what are you doing in academia? And if you tell me that, again, babe, we are getting back to the previous question. So is it better to have a PhD or master? Based on your goal, it depends on you. If you want to work in a company, why you want to get PhD? Unless the company asked you to do that, and if the company says that we will pay for you to go and get that PhD, this is perfect. Okay, but when a company is happy with you with your master program, it's waste of time to get PhD. This sounds silly. So it really depends to the person. Person to person is different, and we shouldn't forget that if someone, for example, is a professor, it's not correct to mock other people like the way they do in Big Bang Theories. Because, for example, Howard was an astronaut, so it was good enough. It was perfect, more than good enough. So it's not right to do that, but unfortunately, this is the thing which is happening in the universities, and that part of the show was based on reality. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in the next live shows with our guests. As I mentioned at the beginning of the live show, we will have 4 guests at least in the first 2 weeks of March. And after that, our semester will begin. I will get a little busy, but I promise you guys that it never be stopped. Outside the working hours, I will do my best to keep it going, and we will have interesting guests for you, interesting topics to talk about. And I would also like to thank you, all of you guys, for being with me today. Thank you for your kind messages, your comments, and also thank you very much for sharing me your questions during the last 2 days so that I could have topics to talk about today. Okay, guys, see you in the next live show. Bye-bye. For those Russians in the room, paka paka. Bye-bye.